The other day, I got a question from someone on Twitter, and he asked me why me and some other people whose name I'm not going to mention seem so down on Joomla lately. Well, I decided to make a video to answer that question. From my point of view, at least, I can speak for everyone. Well, to begin, I never had a simple relationship with Joomla, much to the dismay of some people that care way too much about a bunch of code. I've never been one to not point out problems. I blog about a lot of things that bother me, and I figured why not make a video. I'm trying to make some videos, and this sounds like a interesting topic. I'm a little bit nervous about making this video, so you'll have to forgive me if I touch my face and do other annoying things. You'll get used to it. So, basically, this is not going to be a rant video or a sub story. I'm just going to present some of the pros and cons of Joomla and the context in which the tweet was placed, where I mentioned that I moved on, for those who care. First of all, I want to start with the good things. I think that product-wise, Joomla is still a solid CMS. Is it the best CMS out there? Probably not, but then again, it's hard to compare them. I think that for complex websites, that Joomla is still the best option, especially if you're dealing with complicated menus and access levels, different languages. And I still think that Joomla has a strong ecosystem of extensions and templates, and that it's still a very flexible CMS which can do a lot of things. And it definitely still has its place and uses. I'm still using it for some projects of myself, but it all depends on the needs of the client. And that hasn't changed. I still think that it's a good project. However, the problem with Joomla I have and had back when I was using it more actively is that, well, there are a bunch of problems. The leadership of Joomla is still a mess with organizations and committees and politics, of which I sometimes joke that they would embarrass the politicians of a small country. There are reorganizations and committees and subcommittees. It's all very hard to follow, and I don't know what purpose they all serve. One of the examples of how Joomla is more of a bureaucracy than a developer project is recently they banned the founder of Joomla from all activities. And instead of disclosing why they banned that person, which would be expected, they made a bunch of people sign an NDA, which case you don't know, that's a document that means you can't talk about it. And you can think of that what you want, but to me that doesn't sound very open or open source like. The second problem with Joomla I have is that I'm still not sold on the marketing aspect. They have tried to create user groups that they are trying to target, but I'm still not convinced by the entire message. I am a Joomla fan. I know why I should use Joomla, but the message, it can't convince me of why other people should use Joomla, and that applies to their website, their Twitter, their Facebook. It all seems a bit forced and, well, they like to pat their own back a lot. Then there's the technical side. I'm not a developer, first of all. I have never coded a Joomla plugin. I only fixed one from a developer that clearly copy and pasted it from the Joomla wiki. All I did was change a query. So what I'm hearing is that it's very complicated to get a plugin or an extension or any improvement in, because there are people who can block your features without clear reasons. And a lot of core developers have given up on trying to develop. There has also been the entire platform debacle. Joomla at one point wanted to be more than a CMS. It also wanted to be a development platform, the 20th PHP platform you can choose or something like that. And that brings me to the next part. There seems to be no clear goal of what Joomla is, who they want to reach, what they want to be in 2 years. They just seem to live from day to day and from version to version. I don't think that there is a real roadmap. I don't think that there are any plans for Joomla 4. I think that the only thing that are planned right now are version 3.7 and 3.8 and maybe some features beyond that, but that begs the question for the end user why I should choose Joomla. What is the long-term plan? Um, as a business owner, I want to know what my product will do in 2 to 3 years before I invest my time and money in it and before I fully commit to it. And the final problem I have with Joomla is I'm now recording this video, but I can already imagine the response of a few of the people in the Joomla clique. They are not very fond of outside activities and outside voices. Their reactions on Twitter are usually not that favorable, and I've been a part of Open Translators for a long time. They didn't really appreciate that project either, and I guess that same applies to a lot of the other projects and initiatives. If you're not one of the people in their group, it's very hard to get anything done. Now, I'm sure that also applies to other organizations, but that is a problem for me because I care about Joomla and I want to see it do well, and I never really have the feeling that they were open to changes from outside. So, bottom line, why I was bummed out on Joomla. I'm not really bummed out on Joomla or burned out, but I do have the feeling that nothing really changed. It's still a good project, but the organization is still problematic, and the reorganization, if that ever finished, it doesn't seem to change that. There only seem to be more groups and subcommittees to control different parts. And I don't know. And Joomla also doesn't seem to grow as a whole. At one point there were complaints that Joomla.org traffic is dropping or the ads are dropping, and that they were planning to show ads in the web installer. I don't know what is going to happen to that, but that is a sign that I don't know if Joomla is doing that well, because I'm not that invested myself. And as far as the ads go, I'm partially to blame, I will admit it. I'm one of those guys who has ad blocked on Joomla.org because I don't want to see advertisements for weird hosting companies that can probably barely run Joomla, or dubious extension sales. I think that they still have that ad up for that template development software. I don't know what the name is, but I will admit I bought it at some point. Well, my boss bought it for me at one point, and well, they're not to blame for that. If we're being honest, everyone can buy ads on Google AdSense or whatever they're using, but anyway. I mentioned moving on to greener pastures. Well, that's only partially true. I'm still using Joomla. I'm still blogging about Joomla. I'm even making videos about Joomla now because I still love the product and most of the people in the community. But the thing is, I'm always a guy who follows, well, I follow what my job offers me to follow, makes me follow. My type of work simply has changed, and I had to consider other tools for the job, better tools. And I used to be a guy that was very much tied to Joomla for all solutions. We tried to shoehorn it in for every single website, from web shops to small shops to big and complicated websites. I'm starting to forget how to speak English, if I ever knew, but anyway. And I'm now mostly doing e-commerce. Now, I don't think that I have to introduce the existing e-commerce options in Joomla. I think that Virtuemart is the most notorious option. Can you build an e-commerce site in Joomla? Yeah, technically you can, but should you? Probably not. If I had to, I would probably use something like J2 Store or Hikashop. I would stay far away from Virtuemart because if anyone's development is far more uncertain than that of Joomla, it's theirs. It took them forever to port to Joomla 3, and well, they haven't improved much, but I'm not here to bash Virtuemart. I wanted to talk about the things I moved on to. One of the tools I'm using now is Prestashop. I believe it's French. It's also open source, and it's an amazing tool for e-commerce. It's also very expandable like Joomla. It has got a lot of features out of the box. It's got a good ecosystem. Of course, we have to get used to or accept that not many modules are free, but I guess that if you want to make money, you have to spend money, and it's also really flexible. It offers support for many languages. Actually, what I like the most about Prestashop is it feels a lot like Joomla. Well, it's still different software, but settings-wise, features-wise, the options, it's basically the closest thing to a Joomla CMS transformed to a web shop that I found. The website part isn't that great, but that's why I usually combine it with Joomla if I have to. Or I run it standalone. Most web shops don't really need a lot of pages. Another thing I have been working a lot with is Magento. That's also supposed to be all of those things that Prestashop is. The problem is with Magento, or Magento, however I have to pronounce it, I never really get along with Magento. They also have an ecosystem of developers, but half of them don't seem to work or are way overpriced. They lack features. It's far from easy to use. They use a complicated setup of stores and views and whatnot. And basically, if you want to develop something for them, you have to do a lot of custom development, and that's not at my alley. Maybe Magento is the right tool for other people. I know it's supposed to be very powerful, but one of their problems is that they focus mostly on the enterprise edition, which costs a few €1,000, and the open source version is more of an afterthought. That's their strategy, and that's fine, but I have more issues with Magento than I should have, and it's not something I would use if I had a choice. The one we have been using the most internally is WooCommerce. That's a WordPress extension. It basically turns your WordPress installation into a web shop. The advantages are that it's really easy to use and set up. If you really want to, you want a really basic shop, you could be done in like 15 minutes. You could set up the store location, choose your tax rate, if any, set up the store, and configure PayPal, and you're done. But you can also do more things with it. You can there are a lot of plugins you can install, or extensions, however they call them in WordPress land. I'm not sure if they are as secure or up to date as Prestashop, but in those cases, you will see the end user flow through me. As long as it works and I don't experience any problems, I usually don't care. It gets the job done for us. It's a right tool. The most important part for us is that it's easy to use for the end user, which isn't me, but the people I work for. They can basically just enter the tags in a few fields, and they have product set up, and it also allows us to easily clone existing websites. I think we had one main website which we cloned 5 or 6 times. We only changed the template, I think, and the look and feel a bit, but we could just clone them, and the way we clone them may be funny to you, but Akiba Backup has a plugin for WordPress, Akiba Backup, and using that, you can basically do the same thing you do with the Joomla site. You make a copy of the first one, you restore it somewhere else, you change the domain name, and then after tweaking a few settings and the look and feel and removing the products, you have an entire new web shop. A web shop up and running. So it gets the job done. I'm not sure how reliable it will be long term, but for now they seem to have things figured out. Now, I use WordPress myself for blogging mostly. I'm not going to say that WooCommerce and WordPress are the most secure or the ultimate combination, but if you're looking for a small web shop, it will definitely get the job done. But I'm not trying to promote any of the options. I'm just saying what I'm working with right now. If I had to choose for myself, I would probably be using Prestashop because it has the most future proof. If you want to expand on your shop, it is probably the best option. Then I've also been building some smaller websites, some static sites too. I will admit that we migrated some websites from Joomla to WordPress. The people in charge, they thought that Joomla was too complicated. Some people can be helped. You can install K2 for them. You can write out complete instructions, but they'll still say, well, that's too complicated. I can do that. So in that case, WordPress is easier to sell. But that's more on them than on Joomla or anything. We could have made our site in Joomla as well, but you have to follow the customer. And what I also have been doing, I have been working on all these websites. I've also been looking into marketing and SEO. I will probably never become a real marketing guy with copy and landing page and other thing, but I am more interested in the advertising side. I've been doing some experiments with Facebook ads. They are surprisingly effective, but again, I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm just sharing what I worked on. So basically, to answer the question why or if I'm bummed out on Joomla, I'm not. There are still the same old problems. People that have been in the community a long time will either confirm those problems or deny that there are any problems, which is fine. If you love Joomla to the point that it becomes the one program to use, you're probably very skilled at using it, and that's great. For me personally, the reason I moved on, between air quotes, is that I've been doing other things, other styles of projects that required other tools. I've also been trying to do some other things than just blogging. So I haven't been able to invest that much time in Joomla, and while looking at the features, not that much has changed, so I haven't missed much. I'm sorry, developer guys. Not all your features are as sexy as you think they are. So I'm not burned out. I just don't use it enough to keep my fanboy card. And I'm not sure about the future of Joomla, but I wouldn't write it off just yet. But I'm sitting back a bit and looking what they're planning to do next. If they keep doing what they're doing, then great. It will still be a solid CMS the next 2-3 years, but who knows what will happen in 4 years. They will have to feel the market a bit more and see what people want, and not have the developers decide. Maybe they will find the right people that will lead them into the right direction, who knows. So I haven't pulled out completely, but I'm not burned out. I already said that 4 times. I'm just doing other things, and part of the reason why I'm not as vocal about Joomla anymore is because I'm trying to be more reasonable and neutral nowadays. I'm not trying to be the guy that blogs about things and screams from his blog that X, Y, and Z is wrong, because they're all people. The Joomla people are all trying their best or doing what they think is best, and it would be unreasonable of me to basically say that they suck at what they do or want to do, and I'm just trying not to be that guy anymore. So I've been blogging about other things, well, trying, but that's another story for another channel. I've been doing other things outside of this computer stuff. I basically still like Joomla, but life got in the way. Not much changed Joomla wise. I would still recommend it if the project was right. That's an important lesson I learned during my time doing other things. You always have to make sure that the tool is right and not try to cram everything into the same setup. So I hope that answers the question. I'm sure I overshared a bit and talked about things that don't interest you, but that's alright. This is my first video. I'm just trying this thing out. Thank you for listening, and if you love using Joomla, don't hold this video against me. I'm just trying to share my 2 cents, or however the Americans say it. So I hope you enjoyed this video either way, regardless of how you feel about Joomla. in 2017 or in the future, and goodbye.